And we are live. Hello, my friends. My name is Evelyn Joy, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I am with the famous Teacher Lexi. Hello, Teacher Lexi.
Hello, Evelyn. It's fun to talk with you. I watch your channel, and so we were talking about that earlier. I feel like I know you. And
Yes.
I told my daughter who manages my channel, and I was like, she was like, are you doing a live with someone else today? And I was like, yeah, with Evelyn Joy. She was like, oh, she's the blonde one. And so she even knows who you, because she sees all the other ESL channels. So she was like, oh, the blonde lady. Yes. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I have to be honest with you, Teacher Lexi. I wanted to interview you, but I was like, no, she's too busy. She wouldn't have time for me. And you messaged me, and I was like, yes, I totally had you on my list of if I had the confidence to ask her, I would totally like to interview her. So that was so cool. All right. So I'm a big fan. My first question for you today is what message would you say to any teachers that are upset or anxious or worried about the future right now?
Right. Well, I know exactly how they feel because I've been doing this for more than 4 years, and this has become such a huge part of my life. And it's so much more than a job. And for most of us, yes, it's a job. And I always tell people it is a job. It's a job first. But it's so much more than that with my students. And it's something that I actually enjoy doing. I get up at 2:30 in the morning, and there's not many things that I would get up for. But this I will because I really do enjoy it. So that has been so hard to know that that is going to be changing or going away slowly. So I definitely understand, and we're all feeling a lot of the same things. So you're not alone. And that's one thing that's really hard with teaching ESL online. We stand in our little teaching closets alone and we teach our students, but we don't have that network and connection with other teachers who understand. Like in my real life, I don't know any other ESL teachers in person who live near me. So I feel like I'm going it alone every day. So no one really understands what I'm going through except for my online community. So I would tell teachers connect with other fellow teachers online in the different groups. So you have that support, you have that community, and then do what I've been telling everyone to do for the past year. Diversify and find some other options so that as things slow down with these companies, some of them came to a complete stop, go kid, but others are slowing down like VIP, Magic, and Zebra. But if you have something else to look forward to, something to kind of slowly transition into, it does kind of ease the sadness. But it's okay to grieve. I mean, this is more than a job for so many of us. So it's okay to sit down and be sad. And I've cried several times. I'm not a crier, but I have cried about this because it's so hard to let it go after so many years. It's just been something that I've done every day for so long that it's gone now. And I decided to close my schedule this week and moving forward so I could focus on other opportunities. I could focus on helping other teachers find other opportunities. And I was just, as I told people in my Facebook group, I am not a good teacher right now because I don't feel focused. I don't feel like I can really give the students my everything, which is not how I want to teach. I want to teach and have them really enjoy lessons and me to do an amazing job. And I just can't right now. I can't do it. So I know some teachers are teaching until the end. And if that makes them feel better, definitely do it. For me, that was not making me feel better. I was choking up in my classes and I was not a good teacher. So I'm taking a break to find other things, and that's okay too. So they just need to do what's going to work for them.
Yes. And speaking of your Facebook group, I recently made a video shouting out your Facebook group, but I want to take a moment and share my screen and shout out your group right now. So if you are on Facebook,
Yeah,
here is, I'm not going to show like the posts, but just the top.
yeah.
ESL Diversified with Teacher Lexi. I highly recommend this group. Right now, in the Facebook groups, besides your group, all I see is doom and gloom and depression and sadness and fighting with each other over
So much arguing. So much political discussion that I don't want to read. Yeah.
Yeah. One teacher will say, oh, you're wrong for panicking. And another person will say, you're wrong for putting your head in the dirt. And really, we're all on the same team. And I think there's just a lot of emotions right now. And I think people are getting their emotions out at each other. So what I'm doing, and I recommend for VIP Kid teachers to do, is ignore all those other groups and join Teacher Lexi's group. Why? What I'm seeing on Teacher Lexi's group is people are announcing there's a hiring freeze for this group. This is what's happening on this team. So you don't waste your time applying somewhere where there's a hiring freeze, right?
Right.
Or you can find someone that's actively teaching for a company outside of China, and you can interview them on your YouTube channel or watch Evelyn Choi's YouTube channel, and or you can talk to people that are actively like trying. For example, NovaKid opened up hiring, and you can get connected with Jamie, and she's helping people get hired. And so you can make your connections, because that group is not a VIP kid group, a Magic Ears group, a Zebra English group where everybody's complaining and fighting. But this is an actual group where people are supporting and saying the latest news, finding out what's happening with what company. It's just a really good resource. So I think right now is a good time to distance yourself from all the drama, because it's not going to help your mental health.
No.
I want to shout out some comments here. We have 7 people watching right now. Thank you so much. Kathy Kelly says, hello, Evan. Hello, Evelyn and Lexi. So glad to see you guys. We have Dominique here with us. She says, yes, it's the best group on Facebook. I agree. Teacher Kelly says, hi. Welcome, welcome. So, Teacher Lexi, I also want to shout out your YouTube channel. It's called Teacher Lexi, correct?
It's really creative, but yeah, that's it.
That's the best one. Teacher Lexi, because your channel name is not connected to a specific company. Why is that important? Because that way you can make videos about anything you want, right?
Right, exactly.
That's why my branding for my YouTube channel is me rather than a company. So yeah, ESL Online with Teacher Lexi. So Teacher Lexi's channel. Subscribe to her today. So tell us, what are some of the things that people can see on your YouTube channel?
Well, I have a couple lives that I did with Teacher Sloan, who is one of the other admins of ESL Diversified, and she is the main researcher behind finding all these companies. She has major Google foo. She is like a Google ninja, and she can find all these companies, and so she helps me create these lists that we share. So we just have massive lists. And then, of course, I have a lot of lives that I've been doing. I was doing a What's Up Wednesdays, where every Wednesday I would interview a teacher with a different company. And I was trying to find some companies outside of China, even before all this came down, just to help people find other hours, because we teach those early morning hours, but a lot of us wanted some extra hours. So I tried to interview some teachers with those companies. And then now we're kind of doing a What's Up every day to help teachers find other options. So there's kind of special editions of What's Up Wednesdays on Monday and Tuesday. So I'm trying to add more of those to talk about those other companies to help people find those options, because that's what everyone is looking for. So that's what my group is really trying to help people move forward. We can't do anything about what's going on, what is happening. It's all coming down. And there are some people who think the companies are still going to make it. They're going to pivot and turn things around. No, unfortunately, not with those regulations. There's really not a way around it for most companies. So it's really best to try to move forward and find some other things you can do. And that's what we've been talking about. So tutoring options and ESL options are what we've been talking about. So that's what's been on the channel lately, as well as updates. So I've been doing updates every couple of days, talking through what companies have announced what information and just my thoughts on it. And then some inside information that I have from my contacts in China. So I share what they're telling me.
Oh,
yeah. So
awesome.
I had a little insight into the whole Magic Ears thing before it happened. Not even from a Magic Ears employee, but from some other people at other companies. So I knew what was coming, and I knew it was not good. And it's also really sad because we have to remember that the people in China who work at these companies, they've lost their jobs too.
Yep.
Some of them lost them immediately. We at least get to kind of taper off with our teaching
Yep.
at some of the companies, but they don't get that option. They came into work either on Friday or Monday and or Wednesday for some of them, and were told to pack up and head home, and that they weren't going to have jobs anymore. So
can you imagine? That's really hard. That's like getting blindsided.
yes.
I have to say that my perspective is a little bit different, because I'm not grieving the way everyone is, because This happened to me a year ago. I was put under review with VIP Kid, but thankfully at the same time I was getting started on OutSchool. So I sort of half was on OutSchool, half on VIP Kid, and I didn't trust VIP Kid anymore because
Right.
they can put you under review just because a parent complains about you. It wasn't even about teacher no-shows. It was just about teacher complaint that I was looking tired, and I was, because I had just had a baby and I wasn't getting any sleep, and I was tired and I was yawning in class. So they complained and it was valid complaint. And so they put me under review. So I already didn't trust these companies. And I was like, I need to diversify. And at that same time, a lot of people were applying for OutSchool.
Right.
And I thought, and I even said on my YouTube videos that maybe we are starting to learn about OutSchool and getting our feeding in OutSchool and stuff, because who knows what, China could pass a law and we could all be gone. And I've said that for about a year now, and I did not want to be a prophetess about that. I didn't want to be correct, but we saw that with losing an hour of work in the morning. China passes a law, that's gone. I'm like, they could get rid of us entirely. So the theme of the day today is diversify. The other second theme is pivot. So do not put all of your trust in China. Do not put all of your trust in one company. Pivot, diversify. Don't wallow in depression because that doesn't pay your bills, unfortunately. We we can grieve while we're on the go trying to figure out, how am I going to pay my next bill, right? So I want to talk to you and ask you about some of these companies that I've never heard of before, or I know very little about, and you know the information. So I want to know, first one on the list, what is Starkid?
Okay, so Starkid is a company in Hong Kong. So there's a lot of debate on how the companies in Hong Kong are going to be impacted. Starkid and other companies in Hong Kong are saying that they're not affected. They're not going to be impacted by these regulations. So we're waiting to see if that's really going to be true. But as of right now, Starkid is proceeding forward business as usual. They're getting new students. They're still moving forward. So they are one of the better paying companies, and they were one that I have recommended for a while. And I actually taught with them briefly, and I really loved them. However, I just kind of had some really rocky regulars. They were really difficult. Some of the most difficult kids that I have ever taught in 4 years. One of them was particularly anti-American. And so she was really hard for me to teach because she was actually very rude to me every class. So I was like, whoo, this is hard. And the classes are 30 minutes, which doesn't seem like a big change from what we're used to. But when you're doing 30-minute back-to-back classes with no break in between, it's a big difference. So then I was having to catch up on my feedback later. And it was very hard for me to stack my Starkid schedule with another company in China afterward because of the 30-minute classes. And I like to teach for 2 companies a day, every day, for that variety, so I don't get bored. And so that didn't work with Starkid, so I ended up not staying with them. But the staff was wonderful. They're a startup and they're growing. So their curriculum is a lot like VIP Kid, with the reading and the grammar. So it looks very similar to the VIP Kid slides. And the students in Hong Kong are a little different though, because it used to be a British colony. Their English level is a lot better than a lot of my Chinese kids. Yeah, I was really shocked at their much higher level of English. So it was a lot like teaching at VIP Kid, but students at a little higher level, even though they were really young. So the curriculum is very challenging, very dense, but the students were able to handle it for the most part. So it's 30-minute classes that you can get up to $25 an hour. And compared to a lot of the other companies out there that are not in China, that is really good pay. So it's based on your schedule, how many trials you convert into regular. So the more trials you convert, you can make that top pay. So you're going to be making anywhere from 20 to 25 at Starkid, which is a really good hourly rate. And they were a great company. The staff was amazing, very responsive. And I did a live with one of their teachers, a current teacher, and she helps a little bit with their recruiting. So that's on my channel. If you search for My Starkid Live, that's up there, but it has all the information on how to apply, what they're looking for. The only downfall is that they only hire a few teachers at a time, which is good and bad. They don't overhire, which is super important when you're looking for a company because you're going to get bookings, so that's good. But that means that you might not hear back from them for a while. And when I applied, even months, a year ago maybe, it took several months for them to get back with me. So If you're interested, I would apply now, but know that it's going to be a while before you can start with them. But they are
Okay.
a great option. You have a stable schedule with consistent regulars. So the company does all your bookings. So you're going to get bookings. So it's a little bit like a Zebra English model in that way where the company books you. So it's a great company, but again, they only hire a couple teachers at a time. And
Yeah.
it's pretty competitive to get in right now because everyone is applying. So they are looking for really outstanding teachers. So they
Yes.
are really great to work with. It's a great option pay wise, but it's not going to be a quick option if you're looking for something to fill the gap now.
Yes. Oh, so that one was Starkid. The next one is Clever Kid. Is this one word or two?
Let me look at their little thing. So it looks like it's one word, Clever
One
Kid.
word.
So this is a new one that is getting started, and you probably know Teacher Kelly on YouTube, Kelly
Yes.
Daniel. So she is doing the recruiting for Clever Kid. Yes.
Wow. And she's here with us, actually.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's Kelly Tag. So
Oh,
Kelly
a
Daniel.
different Kelly. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So she is in Australia, and I talked with her on my channel about Hey Talk a few months ago. But now
Okay.
she's recruiting for Clever Kid, which is a new startup. And they were initially going to go into China and do what we do, teach ESL in China. But when all of this started coming down with all the regulations, they're like, pivot,
Pivot.
country. Yes. So now they're looking more in like Taiwan, Singapore. So they're looking in other Asian markets, maybe even South Korea. So they're just kind of exploring other Asian markets with the hope of expanding into the Middle East or Eastern Europe eventually. And they're hoping classes will begin in September. So I actually did just get hired with Clever Kid. I did my interview with Kelly, which was so fun because we've been on each other's channels and we watch each other. So it was weird talking to her again in person and she was interviewing me. It was so strange, but it was very fun and laid back. So with that company, just like with the Chinese companies, both Starkid and Clever Kid, they're looking for a bachelor's degree, a TEFL. They're looking for native speakers from the US or Canada, and they prefer teachers that have some online teaching experience. Starkid doesn't have a minimum, but Clever Kid does have a minimum of 10 hours a week. But as I was telling Kelly, she was asking me, are you going to be able to commit 10 hours a week to Clever Kid? I was like, well, as of now, yes, since I don't really have a job anymore. That's not a problem now. So Clever Kid might be a great option as well as Starkid if you're looking to fill those Asian hours, those early morning times for us if we're in the US. Those are two options that are going to be higher paying. Clever Kid is saying you could earn up to 26 an hour. So I don't know what we're going to start out with, but it could be anywhere from 20 to 26. And then Starkid is 20 to 25. So they are both higher paying companies than some of the other ones out there, such as Cambly and Ngoo. Those are much lower. So it's nice to have a few options that are hopefully going to be a lot better paying.
Yes. I was going to say one thing that you sort of mentioned in passing, and I wanted to point out is teachers from companies like VIP Kid and similar companies, when looking at other companies, I think you have to change your expectations a little bit because in China, they were willing to pay big bucks for one-on-one.
Right.
I think outside of China, we need to be a little bit more flexible as far as if we want the same kind of rate, being willing to pay groups. Teach group classes is what I meant. If we want more pay, teach group classes. If we want just one-on-one, it's going to be most likely a lower rate unless you get lucky and get connected in one of these that you're talking about. So I just wanted to point that out. I had a video that I talked about 5 different companies outside of China, and someone complained that 2 of those companies you have to come up with your own curriculum, and the other 3 companies, lower pay.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah,
that's what you're gonna find though.
this is outside of China though.
Right.
So maybe changing our mentality to expecting to find the same thing somewhere else to pivoting to things are going to be a little bit different outside of China. And if I want the same kind of pay, I might have to come up with curriculum. I might have to teach groups. For example, I have taught out school for a year now. And when I added up the hours and when I figured it out with how many hours I spent and how much money I made, it evened out to $40 an hour. So keep in mind that when you come up with your own curriculum and you're willing to teach up to 8 students at a time, you could make a lot more money than even VIP Kid. But if you're just like, I'm not willing to do that, I'm not willing to do that, then you're going to be having lower pay. I'm just throwing that out there.
Right. And I've looked at so many companies outside of China, and most of them do offer lower pay. Anywhere from 10 to 12 an hour is a really common. And there are even companies that are lower than that for native speakers. And they want native speakers with a degree and a certification. I'm like, you have very high expectations for your teachers for very low pay. But that's just in the areas that they operate. The people can't pay what we're used to. China was able to afford it, and it's just different. So there are a few options that are better paying than others. But again, many of them that I have looked at are much lower. The other thing, and we talked about this in our live where we just went through a ton of companies, a lot of them were tutoring options. So not ESL per se, but those tutoring options like OutSchool or Bonsho or different things like that, you can make a little bit more, but you are having to put in the prep time to put together curriculum, come up with the lesson. So it's a little bit different, but tutoring might be a way for some of us to go to try to do some ESL, but also have some tutoring to kind of make up that gap in our income. Because I know I'm taking a massive pay cut because I'm losing not only my teaching hours, but I'm going to lose my mentor hours because I did interviews and workshops for both Magic Ears and Zebra English. Yeah, so those are my afternoon hours that I'm not going to have. So I'm trying to find another company for daytime hours.
Yeah.
Which those don't typically pay as well. So it's not going to be anything close to my mentor pay. And then trying to find something in the Asian hours, but outside of China, there are not a lot of companies. And you might also have to be okay with teaching adults because a lot of these companies have a lot of adults on the platform. And so that's something that I've been telling people. They're like, I just want to teach kids. And I was saying the same thing until I finally tried teaching adults on Cambly. And I just made a video where I talk about it. So I'll post it next week. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I was okay. It wasn't terrible. So you may have to be comfortable teaching adults and doing some business English, even to groups of adults, if you want something that's going to have similar pay. So like in Korea and Japan, they have some group business English classes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely an option.
One thing that is awesome about Cambly adults, just the regular Cambly before you go to Cambly Kids, it is like 10 something an hour, right? But here's the thing. You can open up on your schedule, and I'm talking like I know about Cambly, but I interviewed someone about Cambly on my channel. You can open up your schedule just like, okay, in 30 minutes I could talk to someone for an hour, right? You can just open up on your schedule, somebody takes it, you get paid. It's like, let's say you have an unexpected bill. You could talk for 4 hours and get $40, and it's not like you have to plan the bookings ahead of time. They're open 24 hours, so you could do it at any time. So that's something that is a good side hustle that people should consider, not just quickly blow it off because it's adults and it's $10 an hour, because it is something that you could do alongside other things.
Right. And that's what I recommend. We're all going to have to find multiple companies to not only fill our times, but to help make up for the lost income. So we're going to have to, if some of us were very loyal to one company or another, we're going to have to just kind of try more than one. And that really is going to help us make up for all of the lost income that we have and also fill our hours. But Cambly is great for that because you can go on a priority hour. And I did that the other day. I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Everyone in my group was like, do it, because they wanted me to be the guinea pig. Thank you for that. So I did. I talked to my friend and she was like, just click one, just click a priority hour and book it. And so I did. And you just stand here and wait for people to call you. And they did call me and it really wasn't bad. So I'm going to share more about that experience, but it was a great way just to fill the extra time because you don't have to plan ahead for it. And it's so flexible. You don't have to have a consistent schedule there. So that's really helpful.
Yes. So I see Teacher Vic is here. P. Matthew is here.
Oh, they're asking about Clever Kid. So Clever
Yes.
Kid is the one that Teacher Kelly has talked about, and she has posted about it several places and in a lot of the different groups. So let me find her channel.
Yeah, what is her channel called?
I think it's just called Teacher Kelly. Like me, we're so creative, but it's easy
Teacher
to
Kelly.
find.
Because see, I'm friends with Teacher Kelly Tag, so it's a different
Yes,
Kelly.
it's a different. There are two Teacher Kellys.
Let
So
me
that's
find
Kelly
it.
Tag, the other one. That's what I refer to her as. And then there's Teacher Kelly, and she is the one who is helping recruit for Clever Kid.
Oh, I see. It is Teacher Kelly. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
and
so
so
I'm
I had
just gonna.
messaged her, and I had applied. Now it's going to be a while before you get an interview because a lot of people have applied. But it's worth applying to both Starkid and Clever Kid. Yeah, that's Teacher Kelly. So she is the one who is recruiting for Clever Kid now, and you can see it on her little list. The different companies she recruits for Clever Kid is one, and they are going to go into other Asian markets outside of China and hopefully get started up in September. So I just signed a contract last week, and I have to do my profile this weekend, and we'll see how that goes. But I'm excited about that. And then, yeah, so I'm not working with Starkid right now, but I might work with them in the future. They are another great option for those Asian hours. So those are two that are worth applying to now and be on the waiting list.
Awesome. What is Kina for kids? Am I saying it wrong?
I think they say Kina.
Kina for
Kina
kids.
for kids. Yeah, I didn't know how to say it either. So they're in Vietnam. And I have such a long experience working in Vietnam. I had tried to get on with Kidtopi, but they weren't hiring, and I think they have since gone under. And for a long time, I worked with one-on-one English, and I recruited so many teachers to one-on-one English. And it was a great company, but they stopped hiring, restructured. Now they're going to have adults. So some business English for adults, but things are really slow there. So unfortunately, one-on-one English is not an option. So I was really looking for other options in Vietnam. Oh, go ahead.
I quickly want to clarify. One-on-one English is the name of a company. That can get confusing.
Oh, yes.
when we're
One-on-one
talking
English.
about when we're talking about Kinda for kids, people might think
Oh,
that
right.
we're still talking about Kinda for kids when we're talking about a separate company, but also in Vietnam, that's called one-on-one.
So that was
English.
one-on-one English in Vietnam. But then they restructured and weren't offering classes for kids anymore. So I was trying to find something else in Vietnam. And then that's when I found this company, and I actually found it on LinkedIn. I found one of the staff members on LinkedIn because I hadn't really seen them posting anywhere, but I was just searching, doing all kinds of searches to find a company in Vietnam because they offer the hour that we lost in China. They're 1 hour off of China time. So that 9 to 10 hour that we can't teach anymore, Beijing time that we lost, you can teach it in Vietnam because it is considered part of their peak time. So I was like, I need a company in Vietnam to fill that last hour. So I applied to Kina. I did an interview. They were really sweet. A small startup company. They have an online program for kids. So they watch videos and they do things in an app. And then they're adding the live classes. So I taught with them for a little while. Again, it is kind of just getting started. So when you work for a company that's just getting started, you have to be flexible, very flexible, because things change and there's just a bigger learning curve. But it was about 14 to 15 an hour is what I would kind of end up making with them. And I could teach China hours. And then that last hour, the 9 to 10, I could also fill that. However, they were filling about 50% of my time slots. So it was kind of slow to get going. And I just decided the curriculum was very British English, which obviously we're American, so some of it was a little difficult for me to teach because I didn't quite understand what I was doing. But it was a good option. I just decided not to continue and just focus my time on other things and not worry about that last hour. But I am going to be interviewing a Kina teacher on my channel next week. And she has been teaching with them for a while. So she's going to tell us how it's changed, how it's grown, and what she thinks. So she's going to give us those details. But it was a good option. I don't know if they're hiring, though, because they only hire a few at a time.
I have a question. Okay, so I have a playlist on my channel where I'm going to put this video on there. I'm interviewing teachers who know about companies outside of China.
Okay.
rather than you interview her and I ask her if I could interview her, could I just put that video of you and her in my playlist? Is
Sure.
that okay? So that
Yeah,
way people will find your video as well. So,
sure.
um,
That works.
so
Because yes, I made
send
a
me the link so that I can watch it and put it in the playlist.
Okay, and I don't remember what day we talked about, but I will post about it. But we're working to get that set up because she's actually on another continent. So
Yes.
trying to schedule with our time zones is tricky.
Awesome.
So we're
Yeah.
working that out. But I am going to interview her because she's still there. But that one is a great option for similar hours to what we're used to teaching, but that extra hour. So it's
Mhm.
really great for people on the West Coast who don't want to teach quite so early. So
Yeah.
looking for something in Vietnam is a good option. And this is really one of the only ones that I have found that is still actively going in Vietnam. But the one thing you have to be aware of is they do withhold taxes. So they're going to do a lot of, they're going to want a lot more information from you because they say, according to their Vietnamese laws, they have to withhold taxes and do all of that. So it's very, very different from teaching for the Chinese companies with all the taxes stuff. So it is different. But one-on-one English in Vietnam was great. I was so sad that they closed. I brought so many teachers to one-on-one English. It was an amazing option. And yes, teacher Tennille, a lot of teachers. Kelly Tag applied there. She was there for a little while. That's also how I got connected with teacher Sloan at one-on-one English. So I looked for a new Vietnamese company, and that's how I found Kina. Just through a LinkedIn search, but they are still hiring a few teachers at a time. I have some videos on my channel about Kina, about the pay, and just an overview of how it works. And then there's also the email address. So if anyone wants to apply, you're going to need to send an intro video, just a generic intro video where you introduce yourself, maybe pretend to teach a couple words. You're going to want to send that as well as your resume to their email address, and they will go through applications. Could be a while before you hear from them. But they will get back with you. And then teacher Kelly Tag was saying that she's used Cambly for whenever her short notices don't book. Yeah, it's a great way to just fill in gaps for your schedule.
Yes.
Yes,
Filling gaps. So
exactly.
so rather than having this mentality of like, that's not enough money, that's not kids, so I'm not going to do it. You could be making a few more bucks. What's 10, 40 bucks in a day, added to your other paychecks. We're not saying just do Cambly. We're
Right.
saying you could supplement with Cambly and fill in your gaps,
And
right?
you really are going to need to have multiple companies. You need to have multiple contracts now. If you haven't before, you need to now just to have those options. Because at Cambly, you have several options. You can teach only kids and they can book with you, make reservations like what we're used to. So you open your
Bookings.
schedule, they book it. You can also have bookings for the adult side as well. And then you can do those priority hours. You have to be available for that full hour though. So if you have a full hour, you can just click and grab a priority hour if they have those available. Or if you have a shorter amount of time, you can go visible, which is where anyone can call you so they can see that you're online and available to take calls, but you don't have a set time that you have to be there. So you can go visible. And it's really best to do that after you've had some ratings from some of the people on Cambly. Otherwise, you're not going to get a lot of phone calls. So you're going to have to do some priority hours, build up a teacher rating, and then you can just go visible and fill those gaps. So that is something that you can try at Cambly. It's not great
I
pay, but it works.
I must say that I had no interest in Cambly until I started talking to you and other Cambly teachers, and suddenly it's piqued my interest, and I think I may apply.
Yeah, it's really not that bad. And I had avoided it for a long time, but several of my friends were like, you just need to apply. That way you have it as an option. You need to try it. You can fill just some extra hours there occasionally when you want to, but there's no commitment. It's very flexible. No feedback. I mean, it's so different from what we're used to. You don't have to finish the lessons. I mean, it's just whatever you want.
It's
So,
conversational English. Their focus is just having a conversation. You don't have to give stars or have props or anything like that, right? It's just conversation.
right.
Okay. So, oh shoot. I don't know if I do know how to scroll up. Okay, we're good. All
Okay.
right. So, uh I made the mistake of thinking that this user's name was Matthew. That is her last name. She's actually a female teacher. So this I forgot what her first name is, but tell us in the chat box. She said, I would love to hear about tutoring or companies other than ESL from around the world, like book work,
Okay.
reading, writing, etc., that you can set your own prices. So I would say, OutSchool and
My
and
cool class.
varsity tutors, my
Yes.
cool class. Yes.
And there are
So
several. I did a live this week on Friday, I think was Sloan, so yesterday. And for the first half of the live, we talked about companies like this. Some of them were more of a marketplace where you can go and offer classes, people can sign up. And then we also talked about ESL companies toward the end. But we talked more about tutoring companies in the beginning because I think a lot of us are going to have to branch out and find some tutoring companies, not just ESL. I'm going to be interviewing Sloan next week about Boncho, which is a homework tutoring option. And then we talked about some that had some math, like Splash Learn. I just interviewed a Splash Learn teacher this week. They're not hiring yet, but they probably will be at the end of the month or in September. So that is a great one if you want to do some math tutoring. So we're going to have to branch out into things like that. And that's what I did try to talk about in my live, give more options than just ESL, because I think
yeah.
in order to make what we were making, we're going to have to try some of these things like tutoring, homework help, creating courses and offering them on different marketplaces. Something like Hollow is ESL, but you kind of market yourself and people can take group classes with you. So that is one that I just talked about on my channel.
I
So
just
things
interviewed one of the top teachers, and I can get
like
you
Hollow.
connected with her if you're interested. But
Okay,
yeah,
yeah, that would be
about
great because
hello.
I was considering applying. It seemed a little bit intimidating,
Well,
but I'm gonna have to branch out.
they have 70 teachers hired, but they've had over 1 million people download their app because their app is like a social media for practicing English, and they've
Right,
just recently started the actual classes and stuff. So this
right,
is sort of there's a lot of students and they're just starting the teacher part kind of.
right.
So,
So that's one that I'm watching, and then I'm gonna be trying to find teachers who do tutoring or who offer classes on these different marketplaces, and try to interview them and see how it's going and the best ways to get started. But I did talk to a Hollow person. Oh, and that was my husband asking about me. He's watching the live.
I put I put him in timeout.
That was him. He is
Oh,
in the other room. He had just popped in and was watching it. So that was him. He
he's
does that on my
saying
live sometimes.
my husband has done that to me before too, where he's like, "Oh, this is a pretty girl." I was like, "Who is this creep?"
I have unfortunately had to deal with actual creepy
Oh,
people.
me too. Me
Unfortunately,
too.
yes, it is so weird. I'm like, do you have nothing better to do than scroll YouTube and contact
No, but it's literally when I've
weird
gone live and I only have 2 viewers and one of them's a
creepy
troll.
person?
It's
So
like,
sorry that you were in
great.
timeout for taking over the chat and trying to distract us.
Just blocked for 5 minutes. Sorry, I thought that you were a creepy guy hitting on. I was gonna be like, should we mention that comment or not mention it? Okay.
Yeah, that's him. He tries to get me flustered in my lives. He hasn't succeeded yet, though. So,
He got me flustered. I'm like, okay. I
yeah.
think it would be interesting. Um, so yeah, I think it would be interesting for tutoring. Okay, so let me get back over and see. So, what can you tell us about Nova Kid?
Okay, Nova Kid. So I kind of have a long history with Nova Kid. They have mostly students in kind of Russia, Middle East, is
Nova,
where a lot of their students. So
hence the Nova Scotia part of the name, right?
yeah, so Russia, Middle East is where a lot of them are, but they're kind of branching out. They have some students, maybe even in South America. So they're really growing. And I applied, I think, a year ago. And I
Okay.
did the interview, and another teacher who is a recruiter helped me prepare for all that because it was pretty intense. And I have a video where I talk about my Nova Kid interview because it was one of the most intense interviews that I have done. But I passed, and they gave me my contract, and they're like, "We want 20 hours a week minimum." And I was like, oh dear, I don't think I could do that. And that was at the time when I was still at, I had contracts with 4 or 5 other companies, and I was like, I don't have 20 hours to dedicate to one company. I just don't have that kind of time. So NovaKid does pay well though. So that was why I initially applied. You can make 16 to 18, 19 an hour, which outside of China, like I've been saying, that's not bad.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to adjust our expectations a little bit, but that is pretty good pay for outside of China. They have their own curriculum. They have a little platform that you teach on. So a lot of it is done for you, just like at Starkid and Cleverkid. They're going to have their own curriculum and the little platform. It might be something you access through Google Chrome. It's not fancy, but it means that I don't have to do all of it, which I didn't want to do all of it right now. So I applied, and then I told them to put me on hold. I was like, I don't have 20 hours. If you're going to require that every week, that's a lot to commit to right now. But now that I have so much more free time, I'm going to find 20 hours and I'm going to try it out. So I emailed them and said, can I be like put back in? I don't want to be on hold anymore. Can you restart my application? And so initially they told me I'd have to interview again. I was like, oh, please no, please no. And then they said, oh, no, actually just do the orientation and you can complete the orientation and then you can move forward. So I'm going to be finding my hours that I can give them. Now they offer daytime hours mostly. So anywhere from like 10:30 Eastern to about 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern. So midday, you can go as late as 3 probably. So anywhere from like 10:30 to 3-ish is where you could teach. And I think you can also teach like 7 to 9 potentially in the morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern. So it's going to be later morning or kind of midday is what they're going to offer, which is a little difficult when you have kids. So I'm going to have to figure that out. But I am going to give it a try because I have heard that during the school year, they book pretty well. And you have regular students, so you have a stable, consistent schedule. Once you convert those trials into a regular student, you're going to have a stable schedule. So I was hoping that would really help fill in a huge gap that I'm going to have because I was working in the afternoons doing interviews, which I'm not going to be able to do anymore. So I thought NovaKid could maybe fill some of those hours for me. So that one is a great one, and they just reopened hiring recently. So if you want to apply, apply now, and then be thinking about your schedule, how you're going to readjust and give them those 20 hours. And there really isn't a way to get around that. They're not going to let you open your schedule unless you give them what 20 hours you want a week. Now, their cancellation policy is not too terrible. They are somewhat flexible, so you can cancel in advance if you need some time off or something comes up. But they do want a fairly fixed schedule with the 20 hours. But pay was pretty good, so it's worth it to try.
What can you tell me about Ingoo?
Yes. So Ingoo is kind of like Cambly, except you're going to have students who make reservations with you. So it's not as flexible. You can open up time slots even kind of at the last minute and they might still book. So it is fairly flexible, but you're going to have bookings. So whereas at Cambly, you can just wait for someone to call you. You have no idea who's going to call you, what they're going to want to talk about. There's no prep for Cambly. You have no idea. So that's a little terrifying for some of us. You really have to think on your feet. With Ingoo, you open your schedule and students get booked with you. So it's a little bit, you can plan ahead a little bit, but you are not going to know what they want to do in class. So it's mostly adults, and they're going to tell you, I want to read a news article and discuss it. I want to practice conversational English. So the Ingoo website has what they call daily news, and there are news articles, but they have, they're short, very short news articles written in fairly simple English. And they have the vocabulary words at the bottom. So you read the article and then there's like some key vocabulary words to discuss with them to make sure they understand. And then there are some questions. So you can chat about the news article. So that's what a lot of them want to do at Ingoo. They either just want to talk with you or they want to read one of the news articles. So you pull up the website and let them choose which article, and then you just chat about the news article with them. So it's really not too bad. But it's adults mostly.
Where are the adults located? What do the hours look like?
So many of them are in Japan or in Asian countries, but they do have adults all over the world. So you can, just like Cambly, they're both 24/7. So you can open anytime. And I have had teachers get booked in the early morning, so like China times, and even book throughout the day. So like midday or early afternoon, those are hours that they have booked. So they do have students everywhere, and they are really growing and expanding, although I think they started out mostly with Japanese students, but it has expanded. So Ingoo is a lot like Cambly, just without as many options as far as opening your schedule. It's more what we're used to. You open your time slots, they book you, and then you teach them or read the news articles. But it's very flexible. You really have to go by what the adult wants to do. You're supposed to ask them, what do you want to do? do you want to read or do you want to do this? So that's what they say. Okay, so they're asking about how to apply for Clever Kid. So let me find that. I think Kelly had posted in one of her groups, and I think it was just an email to get in touch with her. So let me find that link and see if it was an email address. Because I don't think they have a website up where you can go apply, because they're working to build that, and we're supposed to be working to put our profiles up on there. So let me find it in here. She has a group, Online ESL Teaching, Recruitment, Mentoring, and Support, where she talks about the companies where she recruits. But Clever Kid has its own group.
One more time tell me the name of that Facebook group?
Sure. It is Online ESL Teaching, Recruitment, Mentoring, and Support. And I can send you the link. So that is her group for people who are applying with her link. But that's where she had posted more about Clever Kid. She also recruits for Ingu and Hey Talk, and I think Cambly too. So she had asked people to private message her for information on Clever Kid. So I think that's what I had done. Her name is Kelly Daigle. So I will share her link. So I had just private messaged her and said, hey, I think I want to apply. So she sent me the form to fill out. So that's her
this
group.
Is Kelly again. All right.
That's her group. And that's where she had posted about Clever Kid. And she's posted in a lot of the ESL groups, recruiting for Clever Kid. And so I just messaged her and said, I want to apply. And so she got back with me. There is also a Clever Kid group for recruitment. So let me see if I can find that one, because I only recently got added to that one. I'm a little behind with Clever Kid.
That's okay.
So she had created a group.
You know about companies I had never heard of before, so I am just soaking up all the information, adding to my notes.
So there's Clever Kid English official, but I don't know if it's for, so for all things hiring, let me send you the email. It's teach@cleverkid.org. And that is who you can email. Yeah, right. You can send an email there if you want to apply. Teach@cleverkid.org, and I'll send it to you. So that's where you can email the company. So I would send them your resume and an intro video talking all about you and showing your teaching style, teaching a couple different words, using some props in TPR, and send that to them so that you can be on the list. They told me that they're slowly working through all the applications that they have, because they've gotten a lot. So there are no interview slots for the rest of August that I've seen. I think everything has been pretty booked up. So maybe you can do an interview in September. Okay, did Nova contact me and ask me to reapply recently? They didn't contact me. I contacted them because I said, okay, I've applied and I was hired technically, but I haven't opened my schedule yet. Can I open it now? So I reached out to them, but they may go back through applications of teachers who passed but maybe hadn't been teaching actively or opened their schedule and be contacting you, because I think they've really grown. And with everything changing, they might continue to grow even more, because there are not a ton of options in like Russia. There's not a ton of companies for kids that I've found. So they seem to really be growing. So if you have applied in the past, I would just reach out and see if you can restart.
Awesome.
They did for me, which was nice.
Well, Lexi, I believe you've answered all of my questions. If anyone has a question, type it quick because we're about to finish. All right. So real quick, Dominique said, I just applied to Hallow. I'm so terrified by it. Haha. Really quick, I want to say, when those of you who are ESL teachers, remember back 3 years ago or whenever it was that you started with the company, you were nervous, you were worried, you didn't know whether it would work out, but you took a leap of faith and it didn't start off as bad as you thought it would be, and you ended up growing to love it. Now we are back at square one again with some other companies, and you can do it. We believe in you. You've done great with other companies, and you'll do great again in the future. This is not the end. This is the beginning of something new. I just want to say that. And we believe in you guys. you've done it before, you can do it again, right? We are resilient. We are going to pivot. We are going to diversify, and we are going to pay our bills, right?
Exactly. And you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone in order to pay them. And I've had to. I'm now on Cambly. I have now taught adults. I am applying to these companies in other countries. I'm going back through doing interviews again. From being an interviewer where I was doing all the interviews for Magic Ears and Zebra English, now I'm having to apply to all these companies and be the one who's showing up at the interview pretending to teach an adult. It's horrible. It's not fun at all, but it's doable. It's worth it, because we're going to all find some other jobs and other opportunities, but it's going to be a learning curve for a while. And finding things such as tutoring, some things outside of ESL, you may have to teach some other subjects like math, like at Splash Learn or things like that. So if you feel like there are other things that you can teach, or create your own courses and offer them on KidPass or OutSchool or Luma Learn, My Cool Class, there are multiple platforms now popping up where you can teach what your own content, whatever you're passionate about, and you can offer those classes. So those are some things we're going to all have to try. And but that's why I created the group, so we can all learn from each other and we can share those experiences of what's working, what's not working, what did you learn. I just made a video of the things that I learned at Cambly Kids, things that I should have been doing from the beginning. So I'm going to put that video out there, but I just try to post like my things that I learned. I posted how I bombed my in-kid interview, or my Ingu interview. I did such a terrible job. I still passed barely. I think he was just taking pity on me, but it was really bad. But I try to share that so that people can learn, and that's what we do in the group. We share experiences with the different interviews so that we can learn from each other. It's really helpful.
Lexi, we are always our own worst critics. So when you think you bombed something, maybe the interviewer did not feel that way about the interview. You never know.
I felt it was not.
You felt that you bombed,
Yeah.
but I don't think you did, but I wasn't there. I do want to say, for my OutSchool teachers that are out there, or people that are interested in OutSchool, I teach Spanish on OutSchool, but I also opened up a gardening class. I am fluent in Spanish, so I've marketed myself as a bilingual teacher because I am. So I actually changed my title to not just Teacher Evelyn Joy, but Teacher Evelyn Joy, bilingual Spanish teacher, because you can name yourself whatever you want to. So put your credentials in your title. If it gets you bookings, do it, right? So I've opened up, beginner Spanish for little kids, beginner Spanish for older kids. Now parents have requested intermediate Spanish, so I opened that up. I ask parents what time they want. I work around their schedule. So I just opened a gardening class, and some of my Spanish students are interested in taking gardening from me because they like me as a teacher and they're interested in gardening too. So I just opened up a drawing class. So we're going to be drawing animals, and we're going to be learning the Spanish word for the animal. So I'm throwing a little bit of Spanish in with the art, so that, because right now the school year's starting. So those homeschool parents like me, my kids take OutSchool classes too. Yeah, it's so awesome. So I get to hire VIP kid teachers or whoever, right? Friends of mine that are OutSchool teachers, to teach my kids things that my kids will listen better to a teacher than to their parent, right? So or have more fun. So I just want to say, the school year is starting. So there are parents that are looking for ongoing classes right now that are starting, September 1st, or starting now, for the whole semester, because they're looking to write that down in their planner. Oh, my kid's taking a Spanish class, check. My kid's taking an art class, check, or science class, whatever. So if you're interested in OutSchool, now is a great time to start those ongoing classes, because I'm getting parent requests of, okay, well, last semester my kid took your class, beginner Spanish. Can I take intermediate Spanish this semester? So I just want to throw that out there and say, for OutSchool teachers, now is the time to open bookings, get creative. Put, if you taught one thing before, try something else to add to it. See what sticks. We a friend of mine said,
Polish children. So there was in kids, and I was an in kids teacher. I just didn't get very many bookings there. It was very slow, and they ended up closing down. There is another one called OWL Academy, but I know that they're not hiring. Oh, Tutlo. That's another one. Tutlo. I don't know. I had been at Tootie Kid, but I think they were in the Middle East, but they never really took off. In Kids closed down. Owl Academy isn't hiring, and then I haven't done anything. With Tetla, they said they're not currently hiring, so I don't know much about them. But I haven't had a lot of luck in Poland. I just haven't had a lot of luck there. InKids didn't work out, and Owl Academy only hired a couple teachers, so then I wasn't one of them. I decided not to apply because there weren't many options available with them. So yeah, there aren't a lot there. So those are the ones I've heard of.
I just want to say thank you for all of the information that you've given us.
Yeah.
And I want to say to any teachers watching, you don't have to be discouraged. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to feel sad, but then pivot. Diversify. You can do this. We believe in you. You have been doing this. You have learned skills from teaching online. You have built confidence. You have built props, who knows, out your ears.
Yeah.
You know how to teach online. You know how to get on camera and teach someone. Now you're pivoting. And guess what? We got to teach China for a long time, and that was a huge blessing. Now we get to teach other places too, and we are opening our computer screen, and we're going to see kids other parts of the world, and that is awesome too. You know, it's awesome too. So
Right.
thank you so much, Teacher
Yeah,
Lexi, for
you're
coming on
welcome.
my channel, and I'll see you soon. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks,
Thank you, Evelyn.
everybody.
Okay, bye
Bye.
guys.